Today, we are going to explore a mystery, not something hidden deep at the bottom of the ocean or buried in some classified government file. No, this is a mystery playing out right now, literally directly behind your eyes. In this explainer, we're diving into the incredibly fragile reality of human perception. So buckle up, because what you're about to discover is going to fundamentally shatter how you experience every single second of your life.
Think about it. You catch a baseball. You dodge a car swerving into your lane. You slap a mosquito right on your arm. When you do these things, it feels instant, right? You're reacting to the world exactly as it unfolds. You feel completely, entirely anchored in the present moment. But I've got some bad news for you. That feeling? It's a total lie. Here is the unsettling truth. You are not experiencing the present moment, not even close. You are living entirely in the past. Your entire perception of now is a complete fabrication. And the gap between what's actually happening out there in the real world and what you're perceiving inside your mind is way, way longer than you could possibly imagine. To really wrap our heads around this, let's first look outside ourselves at the actual physics of light. Now, light moves at a staggering 186,000 miles per second. It is the absolute fastest thing in the universe. But crucially, it's not instant. When you look at a distant mountain, you aren't seeing it as it is right at this exact second. You're actually seeing it as it looked a tiny fraction of a millisecond ago. You look up at the sun, you're looking at a ghost from 8 full minutes ago. The universe itself imposes this strict, external delay on absolutely everything we see.
But here's where it gets really crazy. The real delay isn't out there in space. It's happening right inside your own head. Think about the biological machinery required just to see. First, light hits your retina and gets converted into electrical signals. Then, those signals have to physically travel up your optic nerve and into your brain. Once they're there, your brain has to decode those signals, figuring out the shapes, the colors, the motion, and cross-reference all of that with your memories. And finally, it constructs a cohesive 3D model of reality. Your biological hardware has to do all of this heavy lifting before you consciously experience anything at all.
And all that intense biological processing, it takes time. Exactly 80 milliseconds. That means the absolute earliest you can ever become aware of something happening in the world is 80 milliseconds after it already happened. You are perpetually trapped in an 80 millisecond lag.
So think about this contrast for a second. Out there, we have external physics zooming along at the speed of light. But in here, we are bound by our squishy internal biology, perpetually lagging 80 milliseconds behind. It creates this underlying sense of dread when you really realize you are fundamentally disconnected from the true now. And honestly, it gets even more complicated.
Because that 80 milliseconds is just the baseline for visual processing. What happens when we throw other senses into the mix? Sound, for instance, travels much, much slower than light. Think about a thunderstorm. You see the lightning flash, and then, a few seconds later, you hear the huge thunder boom. Your brain actually knows about this discrepancy. So what does it do? It patiently waits. It holds onto the visual data, waits for the slower audio track to finally arrive, stitches them perfectly together, and then presents you with this artificially unified, matching experience of reality.
Editing the timeline, the brain's real-time cover-up.
Okay, things are about to go from fascinating to slightly disturbing. Because your brain doesn't just passively wait around to stitch things together, it actively doctors the footage. Cognitive neuroscientist David Eagleman actually ran an experiment on this. People watched a digital screen where a number flashed. Every time the number appeared, the screen briefly went dark. Now, if that dark gap was very short, right at the absolute threshold of human perception, something totally bizarre happened. Participants reported seeing the number before the screen even went dark. Their brain took an event that hadn't even finished happening yet and literally rewound time in their conscious experience just to make the timeline make sense. Your mind is actively editing your reality as you are living it.
You might be wondering, why on earth does it go through all this trouble? Well, without this sneaky editing, your life would feel like a horribly lagging video game. Because of that 80 millisecond processing delay, if your brain showed you the raw, unfiltered data exactly as it arrived, the world would smear and stutter every single time you turned your head. It would be a disorienting, chaotic mess.
To prevent this stuttering nightmare from happening, your brain uses a brilliant survival mechanism called predictive coding. Basically, it takes all the available data, instantly predicts what is going to happen in the next fraction of a second, and simply shows you that prediction instead. It literally hides the lag by hallucinating the present. You can actually test this yourself right now. Move your hand really quickly back and forth in front of your face. You don't see a series of stuttering, choppy, individual frames of a hand, do you? You see a smooth, continuous blur. But here's the kicker. That blur isn't real. It is a projected hallucination. Your brain is guessing where your hand is going to be and filling in the gaps of your perception so you never notice the internal lag. You are never seeing the world as it truly is. You are seeing the world exactly as your brain expects it to be.
The 15-second hallucination, projecting the future.
Now, this scientific reality becomes truly terrifying when you realize this hallucination doesn't just last for a fraction of a second. It extends much, much further. Cognitive scientist Derek Arnold ran a deeply fascinating experiment using two flashing lights. Because of the brain's built-in processing delay, participants initially saw the light in its old position and then saw it move. But when the lights flashed in a predictable rhythm, the brain adapted. It automatically fast-forwarded the image, letting the participants see the lights moving in real time. But, and here's where it gets wild, when the flashing suddenly stopped, participants saw the light move and then jump backwards. They were quite literally seeing a predicted future that hadn't actually happened, even after the real event was already over.
So it begs the question, just how far ahead can your brain guess? Get this, it can project its hallucinations up to 15 seconds into the future. A full 15 seconds. Seriously, think about the everyday implications of that for a second. When you're just looking around a room, when you turn your head to check traffic, when you are simply walking down the street, you are not seeing reality as it is right now. You are navigating entirely inside a 15-second prediction. You are walking around inside a continuous, free-flowing hallucination generated completely by your own mind. Which leads us to the ultimate question, doesn't it? Why? Why would our own biology deceive us so completely? Why go through all the immense computational trouble of predictive coding, rewinding timelines, and projecting futures just to hide the actual present moment from you?
The answer is simple: survival.
If you actually saw the truth,
A delayed, fragmented, stuttering feed of raw sensory data, you would be completely paralyzed. You couldn't catch that baseball. You definitely couldn't dodge that car. Evolution didn't design your brain to be a perfect, objective documentary camera recording the absolute truth. It designed your brain to keep you alive. And to keep you alive, it needs to feed you a very convincing illusion, a smooth, predictable future that you can actually interact with safely. So, the very next time you feel completely, solidly anchored in the now, I want you to remember this. You are a time traveler. You are forever walking a few seconds behind the true present, navigating a chaotic world using a fictional map that your brain just made up on the fly.
the reality you experience every single day, the people you see, the environments you walk through, it is not the world outside. As our source material so perfectly and hauntingly describes it, it is a beautiful, seamless, 15-second illusion playing out entirely inside the dark theater of your skull.
If this deep dive into the hidden science of your brain shifted your perspective, make sure to follow for more. But before we go, I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought to chew on today. How does it feel, right now, knowing you are living entirely in the past? Just let that sink in. Thank you for joining me, and I'll catch you in the next explainer.